I'm Mr. James from Charm City Karate. Welcome to Kenpo On Dummies for the yellow belt level. I'm going to do the stances for you right now. So I'm going to tilt the camera down so you can watch feet. Here we go. Alright, so for this level, you have 4 basic stances. You have an attention stance. Feet together, hands at the sides, standing straight up and down. All you can see right now is feet, but that's okay because if you can't figure out hands at your sides and you standing up nice and straight, I really don't know how to help you. Alright, moving on from there. You have a training horse. Your feet and your training horse should be about shoulder width apart. That means your shoulder width, not my shoulder width. The beauty of Kenpo, or at least one of the beauties, is that it is adapted to the practitioner, not the practitioner is adapted to Kenpo. So instead of a stance being 2 feet apart or 1.5 feet, a stance is based on the size of the practitioner. So your training horse is about shoulder width apart. Now this cool little tape diagram I have on the floor here closely resembles one that I made on the floor back when I was probably a yellow belt, maybe a white belt. In case you didn't know, I'm kind of a karate nerd. So I wanted to be really good at this right when I started. So one of the things I did was I drew one of these on the floor, or taped one I guess, on the floor in front of my TV. So I would practice these stances whenever a commercial came on. Typical commercial is about 30 seconds. A full commercial break's about 3 minutes. If you practice them seriously for a full commercial set and you watch TV, I guess too much like I did, your legs will get in serious shape and you'll learn your stances in no time. So your feet should be about shoulder width apart, your knees should be bent and bowed outward slightly, and your toes should be kicked in a little bit. It's just like riding a horse. When your feet are in the stirrups, they actually toe in a little. Okay? And one of the ways they used to check it in the old days was a guy would come by and he would stomp his foot down the outside of your calf. If you hit your toes, you were doing it wrong. Okay? This was actually originally designed to help increase the strength in your legs because they didn't have gyms. Alright? So back straight, hands on your sides. This is really just kind of designed for you to practice hands and stuff in while your legs get stronger. It allows you to focus on your upper body without thinking about your lower body too much. You're not going to do a whole lot with your legs in it. You're not going to fight from that stance really. It's not for that. Alright, let's move on. Your neutral bow. If you drive a stick shift, you know the importance of going from first gear to second gear to first gear. That is your neutral and forward bow. Okay? For the kids, we call it a guard stance. Alright, so, neutral bow. Back heel, front toe on the same line. Your feet need to be, again, shoulder width apart. Your toes are going to point off on a 45. That's going to be the same angle as your shoulders, really. Your knees are going to be comfortably bent. Some guys like a really low stance. That's fine as long as you can maintain it. You don't want to be high up. If you're high up, you're off balance, somebody pushes you, you fall down. It's no good. You don't want to be so low you can't move. If your front foot is pointed at the bad guy, like I've seen some styles do, I think they call it a front stance or something, it leaves your groin open. An open groin's a bad thing. Toe in. Okay? Alright, and then your hands are up. We'll get into hand position later. This is really about your feet and your legs. Okay? Now, if your toes are lined up this way, like in a fighting horse, the problem is you can't really access the back set of weapons too good. If your feet are squared up like this, like boxers do, the problem is your whole center line is open. So, by having the front toe and the back heel lined up, you get a really nice combination of offense and defense. You want your feet shoulder width apart. The easy way to check that is you go down on one knee. The front of this knee and the back of this heel need to line up. If this foot is way out here when you do it, your stance is too wide. You got the Elvis going on. If this heel's behind your knee, when you stand up, your stance is too narrow. You don't want that either. So they should be pretty much set. You can put some cheat lines down for when you're practicing at home. So when you get up off the couch, you're like, okay man, I got it. You know, check it real quick, get back into your stance, practice. Now, that's your neutral. You want to practice that on both sides. Doesn't matter which side you like better, you need to practice it on both sides. The bonus to doing something like I did and sitting in front of the TV and practicing, just hanging out in that stance, is that when you're in class and the instructor says, neutral bow, you're going to be able to step back, get in your stance, and it's there. You're not going to be looking down at your feet and checking and looking around like all your classmates are, going, ooh, is this right? You're not going to be dropping to one knee to check it, tilting your toes, shifting around. You're going to know, because your body's going to know what it feels like from all those hours of sitting in it. You say hours? Sure. Because if you sit in that stance for 3 minutes, every commercial break, you have about 12 minutes worth of commercial breaks every hour show. Okay? And then, I don't know how much TV you watch, but let's say you watch an hour every day, and I don't know, how long does that take to turn? So 4 days is an hour of you practicing your stance. Okay? So you're practicing an hour of stances every week right there. In no time, what's that, 52 hours a year practicing your stances? Huh. Just from watching TV. That's pretty good. Okay, moving on. From here, forward bow. You turn the back foot. Don't let the heel come up. That's what boxers do. Pivot on the heel, and you're going to let 10 to 20% of your weight shift over this front leg. The knee's going to come out over the toes. Back stays straight. Don't lean. The weight shifts, not you. Weight comes forward, hips go forward, shoulders turn, so everything's facing the bad guy. The whole point of the forward bow is for your weight to come forward long enough for you to drill somebody. It's about a power transfer. You're not going to hang out in a forward bow unless you're Tom Kelly taking a kick from Ed Parker. You shift, you hit the guy, you come back. That's it. All right? But you want to practice it. And a good forward bow later on is going to help you with a good close kneel. All right? And then you come back. Practice those. And you want to practice them on both sides. Forward and back. Do not let this front foot pivot when you go. That's going to get you kicked in the groin again. That is a bad thing. And keep your hands up when you're practicing. If you practice with your hands down, you're going to fight with your hands down, you're going to get crushed. So there's your 4 basic stances for that level. You got an attention, a neutral, a forward, and a horse. Practice those. I'm Mr. James from Charm City Karate. This is Kenpo On Dummies.